Alright, how you doing? Just published a couple of games on itch.io, how the fuck you say it. I figured I'd talk about them. Do you like gambling? Do you like the most reptilian basal instincts of your mind being weaponised against you for someone else's profit? Then you might just like Gambler's Heart. It's a game that kind of meshes that Garth Ennis preacher-esque, magical realism just at the corner of your eye thing, with the mythologised take culture often has on gamblers. The guy from the Kenny Rogers song, Robert De Niro in Casino, Rain Man, whatever. Basically, you take on the role of magical gamblers, go around and you kick the shit out of the settings equivalent of the CIA, Men in Black types.
They're fucking agents, Frankie. Look at this.
Except in the game, it's not so much propping up white supremacists or fascist governments or fruit companies. They're fighting on behalf of some nutbag angel called Metatron.
I am the Metatron. Don't tell me the name doesn't ring a bell.
That's the basic gist of it. The mechanics are kind of like a miniaturized poker game. You try to cast a spell.
I affect the ground with fire!
And you play a little one-hand poker against the GM using dice. You win, you cast a spell, you don't, things get worse. Also interconnects with a system called patronage in the game, where the magical deity that you played a game of poker with in the past and won, and that's where you get your magical spark from, can help you out in times of trouble, and that gives a kind of an edge over the GM. But there's this kind of secondary game there of bluffing, where if the GM thinks they've sussed out all your patronage is, they can fuck you over in turn. So there's kind of two levels of bluffing, using a poker face, that kind of stuff, tied into a RPG system. And then instead of hit points, it's got a system called Fortune that's split between you and the GM. You get more fortune means the GM gets less, and vice versa. It hits 0 on either side, and things are looking pear-shaped for whoever it's hit 0 for. The other game's called Frankenmonster Creaturestein, bit of a mouthful.
Frankenstein.
Basically, you're a bunch of stitched together freakish monsters created by rogue scientists in 19th century Europe. And since no one else is up to the task, it's up to you to go kick the shit out of the scientist and prevent all of the terrible effects of his misguided science. The basic mechanic of just rolling a dice, trying to do things with skills, very, very simple in the game. Where most of the complexity is with body parts. You've got different body parts, different types do different things, and you're this horrible amalgam of stitched together limbs and torsos and heads. So you've got two heads that are good at one thing stuck to your body. That's going to make you pretty good at that thing. If you get into fights or mishaps, you lose body parts.
Just a flesh wound.
At the end of each leg of the journey, you gain body parts. That's the basic flow of it.
When I give the word, throw the first switch!
In terms of inspiration, the game's drawn a bit from transhumanist ideas, the idea of the body being interchangeable while the spirit remains the same. Of course, that's kind of a rejection of transhumanism at the same time. The body parts change, but the soul doesn't. Really, what matters is intent. Top of that is drawn from a bit of, the standard fair class politics of the underclass being stigmatized by the upper class for the conditions the upper class enforce upon them. You are monsters wrought by this rogue scientist, and yet the rogue scientist and his pack of, wealthy cronies are all coming together to blame you for being the freaks they made. That's a rather on-the-nose reflection of how things like mental illness, petty crime, and so on are pointed to as a fault of the individual when they're very obviously symptoms of class warfare. It's also, at the same time, drawn a bit from what I would like to call kind of Leninist politics, the idea of a small group influencing a larger political mass, because the idea is at the end of it, you've changed the course of history in your own minor way, despite just being a ragtag pack of monsters that are themselves a ragtag jumble of limbs. Of course, that's not really particularly left, right, centre, whatever. Nigel Farage is a good example of a small group influencing politics. But still, the basic idea is in there that actually a small group, well applying its power, whatever you want to call it, can influence politics in a wider way, which is a bit of me internally addressing my own anxieties about participating in left-wing groups and other progressive groups such as Extinction Rebellion. If you tie yourself to a politics where you have to get at least 51% of the public on board, largely you're just shooting yourself in the foot. At least that's how I look at it.
3, 2, 1.
Also, I'll be launching a considerably bigger game called Ecopup, which I've been working on for the last year, fairly soon. So watch this space. I'll put a link to the Twitter account where we're posting the updates. We've got a bunch of art from our artists already posted. It's pretty cool. We'll be launching a Kickstarter on the 30th of September, so I do hope if you like Gambler's Heart and or Frankenmonster Creaturestein, you'll consider backing that project as well. Cheers. Anyway, that's the long and short of it. Hope you check out my games. There'll be a link somewhere fucking around. Peace and love.